So the first problem we're going to do out of 5.4 is this one. So we did problems like this in 5.3, and this is just distributing. Now in this section, if you watch the video that goes with this section, they might have emphasized FOIL a little bit more. But remember, all FOIL is multiply the first together, multiply the outer together. That's distributing the 2x. Multiply the inner together and the last together. FOIL. First, outer, inner, last. But all that does is it distributes the 2x to the second parenthesis and the minus 5 to the second parenthesis. So whichever way you look at doing it, it's 2x times the x, and it's 2x times the 1. Then it's the minus 5 times x, and minus 5 times the 1. We just need to simplify these. So x times x is x to the second, so 2x to the second. 2x times 1 is still 2x. Negative times positive is negative. 5 times x, and negative times positive is negative 5. So if we combine the terms that are alike, we bring down the 2x squared, we bring down the minus 5, and we combine those. Those are both x to the first. So 2 minus 5 tells us how many x's. So minus 3x. So that's the first one. Again, just a review from the last section. This one is similar to it, but we have a coefficient in the front that could confuse you. And we can do this in several ways. Remember, with the multiplication, if we have several things multiplied together, it doesn't matter which ones we multiply together first. We could multiply the 2 times the 4 and then multiply times 5. Or we could multiply the 4 times 5 and then multiply it times the 2. Or we could do the 2 and the 5 and then the 4. But we're always going to get the same answer. So if I gave this problem on the test, some of you might go ahead and multiply the 5. You would just have to be careful. We're not distributing the 5 to both of these, just like we don't distribute 2 to both of those. These are not added, so we don't do 2 times both of those. We just do 2 times one of those. We have 3 things multiplied together, so we multiply 2 of them together, and whatever that answer is, multiply it times the other. So we have 3 things multiplied together here, so we pick 2 of them to multiply. So if you want to multiply those together first, we do 5 times y, and 5 times negative 9. Positive times negative is negative. 5 times 9 is 45. So that's the product of the first 2. Then we multiply that times 2y minus 1. So if we distribute 5y times 2y, 5 times 2 is 10. Y times y is y to the second. 5y times minus 1, positive times negative is negative. 5y times 1 is 5y. Then distribute here. Negative times positive is negative. 45 times 2 is 90 times y. And then negative times negative is positive. 45 times 1 is 45. So I didn't write out that middle step, but we just distributed 5y to both of those, and then minus 45 to both of those. Now we combine the like terms. Those are both y's, so we take negative 5 and minus 90 to find out the number of y's. So we have negative 95. Bring down our y squared term, bring down our constant, and we finished multiplying and combining like terms. We won't do this, but if you would like practice, you could multiply the 2 parentheses together first, and then once you get that answer, then distribute the 5. See if you come out with the same thing. So let's do this one. Again, we did some like this in the last section. And let's just remind ourselves there's not a direct shortcut of just squaring both terms. That doesn't work when we have a plus or a minus there. So we have to write this out as the parenthesis times itself, because after all, that's what squaring something means. Write the base 2 times and multiply it out. So 2x times 2x, and then 2x times minus 3. Minus 3 times 2x, minus 3 times minus 3. And we're just combining all of those terms. When we distribute, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 products, so we're adding all of those together. So 2 times x is 4x to the second. Positive 2 times negative 3 is negative 2 times 3 times x, so 6x. Negative times positive is negative 3 times 2 times x, so another 6x. And negative times negative is positive 3 times 3. So we have a 4x squared. We have that twice. So we have a minus 6 and a minus 6 more, so minus 12 x's, and then a plus 9. Be sure you don't try to cancel those out because they're not opposites. It's not minus 6 plus 6. If it was a minus 6x plus 6x, minus 6 plus 6 would be 0, so we would have no x's. But they're not opposites, they're the same. Negative 6 and another negative 6 is minus 12. Now they're going to give us a problem in a minute, and we're going to refer back to this one. Notice what happened when we squared this out. We had to FOIL it, we had to distribute, but we ended up with this first term times itself. So we had that first term squared. We ended up with the second term times itself, so we had the second term squared. And then we had the first term times the second term. We had that twice. We had it here, and we had it here. Negative 3 times 2x, negative 3 times 2x. So this is going to be useful when we have to square things a lot, because we're always going to have the first one squared, the second one squared, and the product of the two different times. So we'll come back to that in a minute. Here, this is not a square because these are not the same. They have opposite signs in the middle, but still we distribute. We do 2x times 2x and 2x times minus y. This times each of those. Then we do y times 2x and y times minus y. That one and that one. So we distributed the y. So 2x times 2x. Just rearrange those to get 4x to the second. Positive times negative. 2 times x times y. Well, x and y are different letters, so we don't add any exponents. Positive times positive. 2 times y times x. Again, those are different letters, so we could write it y times x, or we could call that x times y. Often, if we have two different variables, we put them in alphabetical order. And then positive times negative is negative. Y times y is y to the second. So if we have any like terms, put them together. We have a 4x to the second. This time, those are opposites. They're both x, y's. We have negative 2 and positive 2. So that means we have none of those, so we don't even have to write it. And bring down the y squared. So 4x to the second minus y to the second. And this is a problem I was alluding to earlier. If we want to square this out, since it's adding in the middle, we write n plus z times itself. So if we fold this out, we're going to have n times itself, which is n to the second. Then we're going to have an n times z. And then we're going to distribute here, so that gives us z times n, or we could call that another n times z. Z and n and z are the same thing. And when we multiply those together, we get z to the second. So notice what we have. We have the first term squared. We have the second term squared. And we have their product, n times z. We have it twice. One here, so two of those. So that's actually a shortcut we can use to square binomials. If we have x plus 9 and we want to square it, when we square it, if we were to fold it out, we would have that first term times itself, so squared. We would have the second term times itself, so squared. And then we would have that product twice. X times 9, or 9x, we would have that 2 times. So squaring that would give us x squared plus 18x plus 81. And after you do that several times, you might not even write this middle step. You would write this squared, their product, and then double it in your head, and then the second one squared.